Hello, biblical counselors. So you notice I'm wearing the same thing I wore the last lesson, which maybe you don't remember because it was a few days ago for you. But I wanted to continue on. I know you've just had a test, and I want to continue on this last section on how to overcome depression. And here's what you've got to do. Now, it's in the very end of your notes on depression, but you need to get your Bible out and you need to turn to 1 Samuel chapter number 30. This is worth the whole lecture. And this is going to help you the rest of your life, and you're going to help other people. And what's our definition of biblical counseling? Changing behavior biblically. So I'm going to show you now, if somebody came into my office and all the lecture notes I just gave you on depression were great, especially that stuff on suicide was really important. However, if someone came into my office and I began to question them and see that they were living in a constant state of an unfulfilled expectation and they can't move on. It's beyond discouraged. They're just in despair and they're living in depression. This is what I would have them do. I would say, hey, would you take your Bible? Or I would give them a Bible and I would say, turn to 1 Samuel chapter number 30. 1 Samuel chapter number 30. Now, when we come to 1 Samuel 30, we have a prolific Bible character. His name is David. And we know that David is a man after God's own heart. But in 1 Samuel chapter 30, he has reached the bottom. Personal opinion here, I do not know of another time in David's life that he is lower than this. The David Bathsheba thing, he gets that right. That loss of Absalom was really discouraged, shall we say, disappointing. It was very disappointing, but I don't think there's a time in his life that he's lower than right here. What has happened in 1 Samuel 30, he has been the fugitive of Saul. All he has done is done right. He kills Goliath and everything falls apart. He's lost his friendship with Jonathan, everything, because they had to be separated, not because Jonathan didn't love him and then he didn't love Jonathan, but they had to be separated. Saul, the man he wants to serve, David wants to serve, is trying to kill him. He's searching for him. He's been a fugitive. He's lived, that wasn't what he expected. Very much unfulfilled expectations in his life. He's had 2 opportunities to kill Saul. Both times he doesn't do it. He honors him. He believes now, according to 1 Samuel 27, that one day he's going to die. Now he's got this disappointment, this unfulfilled expectation, and he can't move on from it. He joins the Philistines. Guys, David is the Philistine killer. Now he joins the Philistines. Achish gives him a little city called Ziklag, and that's where David and his men and their wives and their children are living in this place called Ziklag with the Philistines. David doesn't want to be with the Philistines, but that's where he's living right now. He's got this unfulfilled expectation in life. Everything has been a disappointment. Achish says that he's leaving to go fight the Israelites in the northern part of Israel. David says, I'm going to go with you. Achish says, no, David, you don't need to go. David says, no, I'm going. And all the men are going with us. So now listen to this. They go 65 miles. They march to the northern part of Israel to fight with the Philistines against the Israelites. I mean, like, David, what's going on? He's living in a constant state of an unfulfilled expectation. He's depressed. He's beyond discouraged, man. He's depressed. So he's up there with the Philistines, with his soldiers to fight the Israelites. The other Philistines say, hey, Achish, who is this? Well, that's David. You remember him. He killed Goliath. Yeah. What's he doing here? Oh, he's on our side now. No, he's not. You tell him to get out of here. No. They just spent 3 days marching up here. They're here to fight. No, they're not going to fight. You tell them right now. Achish goes back to David. He says, David, the guys won't fight with you. You're going to have to go back. What are you talking about? We're here to fight with you. No, David, it's not happening. Achish, we just spent 3 days marching up here. We're here to fight. No, it's not going to. Another unfulfilled expectation. David is worn out physically. David is worn out emotionally. It has been one unfulfilled expectation in his life after another, and they come back to Ziklag. Another 3 days. So within 1 week, they have spent 6 days hiking, marching, and now they're coming back totally depressed. As they come back, they see smoke in the cloud. They see smoke in the horizon. The men say, David, I know, I see it too. And they come to Ziklag. Now, students, if I have asked you to do anything this semester, take your Bibles, look at 1 Samuel chapter 30 with me. And it came to pass, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, 3 days marching back, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag and smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire. David and his men come back to a city that has been burned with fire, and they can see it on the horizon. And you know what they're hoping? They're actually hoping that their women and children are dead. Because the alternative is that the Amalekites taking their wives and their children, it's going to be really worse. It's going to be even really worse. What they're going to do, the Amalekites are going to do to their wives and to their children. They're hoping to come back to a city now that's burned. Of course, they see that their wives and children are burned to death. Because otherwise, the Amalekites took them. They come back, verse 2, and had taken the women captive that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. The worst scenario that could have happened. Dr. Schuttler, what did David do wrong for all of these things to occur in his life? Guys, this is not what he expected for living right. These are the things that came into this man's life for living for God, for doing what is right. There has been one unfulfilled expectation after another, one disappointment after another. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's respected authority. He's done what he was supposed to do. He's served faithfully. He's been loyal. And this is what's happened to him. Unfulfilled expectations. God, why did this happen? What did I do? Unfulfilled expectations, if not handled properly, will bring you doubt, will bring discouragement, will bring depression, will bring you to despair. And my friend, it'll bring you to death. This is where David is. Look at verse 3. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and everyone saying, look at verse 4. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept. These are men, warriors. They are weeping uncontrollably until they had no more power to weep. I do not believe that there is a point in David's life ever that's as low as this. Verse 5. And David's two wives were taken captive, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. Look at verse 6. This is the key to coming out of depression. And David was greatly distressed. I think that's an understatement. I think this guy is totally in despair and wanting to die. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him. Who are these people? Talk about unfulfilled expectation. The people who he'd invested in, the people he's given his life to, the people that he received, that he trained. He's the captain of these guys. They pick up stones to stone David. Unfulfilled expectations. The whole church turned against the pastor. They're picking up stones. I've given my life for you. I led you to Christ. I've invested in you. These are the people that are coming after David. Because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. Now look at your verse 6. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Elimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. I'll explain all this in a minute. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he, God, answers David, him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. And look at verse 9. So David went. And David's life is never the same from this point. David could have committed suicide at the lowest point, but he did three things, class. He did 3 things to come out of an unfulfilled expectation. Now listen to me. Disappointment in life is not a sin. Have you been disappointed about this semester? Come on. You're looking at a guy that has been extremely disappointed this semester. But I got to do something with my disappointment. Never in a million years did I expect what to happen that happened this semester. Never. But you've got to do something with that disappointment. Some of you thought that you were going to go to the Asia, the SLC, and all of these things. You've been disappointed over and over again. Maybe you've been in a relationship that you thought was headed to marriage, and that relationship has broken up. You've had disappointment in your life. What do you do when you have a disappointment? Number one, you could do the wrong way. The first thing that will happen if you take that disappointment and you start going the wrong way, I believe that every one of these steps are sin. I do. And if you don't recognize it as sin, you're going to have problems. I believe you take that unfulfilled expectation, this is what's sin. And number one, you begin to doubt God. Unbelief. You begin to doubt. God, I thought you were a good God. I thought you were a sovereign God. I thought you were wiser than this. You begin to doubt who he is. Then the second step, you get discouraged. And in discouragement, you begin to start losing hope. You start losing the hope. Like, I don't think anything good's going to, and that's discouragement. You stay in that state longer, you go to the next step. The next step is depression. Now you have a lack of hope. You're not losing hope. Now you ain't got much hope at all. There's nothing hardly there anymore, and you're in depression. You have an unfulfilled expectation. You doubted God, then you got discouraged, and now you're depressed. Then there's another step. It's despair. No hope. And when a person gets to despair and there's no hope left in their life, the next step is death. There's nothing to live for. Nothing will ever change in this marriage. Nothing will ever change at this church. Nothing will ever change. And you're in despair. And then that's death is after that. Those are the wrong ways to handle an unfulfilled expectation. Dr. Schaller, what's the right way? Notice what David does. Verse 6, but David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. Number one, get these down now. He focuses on who God is. Okay, if you have an unfulfilled expectation, and I'll tell you what you got to start doing. Okay, I got to start studying who God is. God is God of love. God loves me. No good thing will he withhold from them that walk uprightly. God is a good God. God is a God of love. God is a wise God. He's got a bigger plan than this. He knows what's going to go on. God is an omniscient God. He knows everything. God is an eternal God. There's an eternal purpose here right now. God is a powerful God. My God can still handle this. My God can take this terrible disappointment and turn it around and make it into a great victory, from a valley to a victory, from a pit to a peak. God can take these things and turn these things around. He's a powerful God. He's a sovereign God. He's a merciful God. He's a long-suffering God. Here's what you do. You get your focus on God. If I'm counseling somebody first week that they're living in depression, I give them a project. All I want you to do, I want you to read this psalm or this psalm. I want you to read this passage. And all I want you to do is give me attributes of God. Who is your God? This week, all I want you to do is read this passage and what kind of God is he? He's a powerful God. He's an immutable God. He's this God. He's a faithful God. He's this God. He's this God. All I want you to do is focus on God. Get your focus off yourself. Get your focus on God. He encouraged himself in himself. I can do this. I can pick my... No. David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. Number two, look what he does. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Elimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. And David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? Okay, so what's the second thing he does? Number one, he focused on God. Number two, he put his faith in God's word. He put his faith in God's word. He had to get something from God's word. And that's the whole idea of the ephod and everything. And remember now, they don't have the whole scriptures like we have. So he had to get a word from the Lord. So he takes the ephod representing the priest and he goes to God. He says, God, you got to give me something. You got to give me some words. You got to give me some direction. Okay, if somebody's had an unfulfilled expectation in their life, number one, they got to focus on God. Number two, they got to get in God's word. They got to get a promise from God's word. God, you're going to do this. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. No good thing will you withhold from them that walk uprightly. God, if I walk uprightly, you're going to give me the right thing. We are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Faithful is he that calleth you, who also will do it. Being confident in this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it till the day of Christ. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Wait on the Lord, and renew your strength as eagle's wings, and you will rise up as eagles. And whatever, you find that verse. And you get your faith in God's word. God, your word says this. Call unto me and I will answer thee and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. God, I'm claiming that verse. When you have an unfulfilled expectation, you got to focus on God, on who he is. Number two, you got to put your faith in God's word, and then look what happens. God said, get up and get going after those Amalekites. Go get your bride. Go get your wife. Go get your kids. Get up and get going. And look at what he does. Number 3, verse 9. So David went. Now listen to this. Number 1, he focused on who God is. Number 2, he put his faith back in God's word. And number 3, he put his foot back on God's path. He put his foot back on God's path. He got up and he got going again. And this is what depressed people don't do. They'll think a little bit about God and they'll look in the scriptures. But you got to put your foot back in God's path. You got to get back up, man, and go forward. You got to go forward. You got to get up and you got to get moving again. And when you put your focus on God, you get your faith back in God's word and you get your foot back on God's path. And guys, let me tell you something. I'm just as disappointed as any of you out there in what's happened over these last few weeks. But I'm getting my foot back on God's path and I'm getting up and I'm going to keep going again. My life's not done yet. I'm not over yet. I've got ministry yet. If I got to sit in front of a camera and teach, then that's what I got to do. But I'm getting my foot back on God's path and I'm going forward. And that's what you have to do. Look what you have in your notes here. The wrong handling, doubt, discouraged, depressed, despair, and death. The right handling. Focus on who God is. Put faith back in God's word and put your foot back in God's path. That is the key to overcoming depression. And I hope this will be a help to you for the rest of your life and that you'll help others with it as well. Our next lesson will be on anger, and we'll get into that, and I think that'll be really helpful to you. But I hope you share this lesson with somebody so that it will help you get it solidified. When we have our next test, it's a couple lessons down the road, you're going to have to reproduce that the wrong handling and the right handling. Thanks again, guys. I hope you got this today. And no matter what you've been disappointed about, you know how to handle your disappointments now.